All right, so now we're gonna finally get into Hadith terminology. So this is where we're gonna talk about like what are these terms? It's gonna get a little bit intricate. We'll have some examples, inshallah, so you can understand, inshallah, it wouldn't be too hard. But you'll get some understanding of terms that scholars use for Hadith. All right, Hadith terminology or mustalahul Hadith. Now, regarding the construct of a Hadith, we have certain terms. So now we're just going over terms. These are words that the scholars of Hadith use. Al-Khabar, first one. All of them have al. In Arabic, al means the. And so you don't really have to say al. You just say khabar. Khabar in many languages like Urdu and stuff like that. Khabar is like you say kya khabar or khobor if you're Bengali, right? So these are words that we use. So it's kind of the same in the Arabic language. It's an Arabic word. So it's a narration. Yeah, what news do you have? Khobor or khabar in those languages? Hmm? In which language? Yeah. What is it? Kibar. Okay. Kibar. Yes, it's probably from this. It's a very commonly used word. That means narration. So it could be a hadith or anything else. Any narration. Remember I said that you can use a sanad for stories. You can use a sanad for the statement of a sahabi or a tabi'i. It doesn't have to be the words of Rasulullah. So all of these are khabar. All khabar. That's what it's called. Sanad and isnad. So you guys are familiar with those two terms, inshallah. I hope. If I ask everyone what is sanad and isnad, at least inshallah you can talk about that a little bit. So the chain of narrators in a narration. It's actually the chain. The chain is the sanad. Sanad in Arabic means chain. Isnad, saying the chain. I should have asked you guys that. What was the difference between sanad and isnad? Maybe I can still ask. What is the difference between sanad and isnad? Anyone know? Sanad and isnad. You guys not listening? Saying the chain, correct. Sanad is the chain. Isnad is when you say the chain. They're used interchangeably because they kind of mean the same thing. That's just a small difference. That's why I put both of them in the same thing. Matn. Matn is the text, which appears at the end of the chain. It's the statement for which the chain exists. Right? The chain is there for the matn. The purpose is the matn. If you just have a chain and it doesn't go anywhere, then what's the purpose? The chain is supposed to take you back in time so that you can relate from the narrator. Next, al-rijal. Rijal. Rijal is the plural of rajul. Rajul means man. Yeah, man. Rijal, men. Which means the people in the chain. It doesn't mean that everyone in the chain must be a man. There's a female sahabis who narrate. It's just a term. It means the people in the chain. But they use the term rijal. Right? There are female narrators here and there. Not very much. And sahabiyas, there's many of them. Aisha, Hafsa, the wives of the Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, different sahaba. And another one, rawi. 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 It's not rawi. It's not rawi. Rawi. That line above the words, that's a elongation, like a mud. Rawi. I should have put the Arabic there so you guys can see it. Rawi. Single narrator. But he's a rawi. He's a narrator. Okay. So that was regarding the construct of a hadith. Hadith has a sanad, matan, you have narrators, rawis, you have people in the chain, those are rijal, you have khabar, which is just a narration, all of that. Now, we've already covered those terms. Now, these are some new terms. Ascription of the matan. What does that mean? So the matan is the text. Who does the text belong to? Then you'll get a different type of hadith. So the text can belong to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He said it or did it. The text could belong to a sahabi. Sahabi is the one that did it. The text could belong to a tabi'i. The tabi'i is the one that did it. The text can belong to Allah. Allah is the one that said it. Based off of who said it, it's going to have a different name. That's all this is. Ascribing the matan to someone. So we have different ways we can say, okay, this hadith is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, so we use a term for it. And usually if you just say hadith, it's automatically meant that it belongs to the Prophet ﷺ. But for the other ones, you would have to use that term. So let's take a look. The hadith, al-hadith al-marfu'. Marfu'. You could just write marfu'. Al-hadith is, hadith. The marfu' hadith. Marfu'. Mim, ra, fa, waw, ayn. Marfu'. This is when the text is attributed to the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So if Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says something, does something, approvals, qualities, then this is marfu', because the text belongs to him. The next one, mawquf. Mim, waw, qaf, waw, fa. Mawquf. You see that line? That means pull it. Mawquf. This is when the text is attributed to a Sahabi. So if someone says this hadith is mawquf, it means it's not Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying it. It's a Sahabi that said it. That's what that means. Right? Mawquf. The next one, maqtu'. Maqtu' means cut off. Mawquf means stopped. And marfu' means elevated. So marfu', what does it mean in English? Elevated. Because it's elevated to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It reaches him. Mawquf, it stops. It's stopped at a Sahabi. Maqtu', mim, qaf, ta, waw, ayn. It means it got cut off at the tabi'i. Does everyone have those pages? Right? Okay. So you guys can see on the chart, does it? I don't think I have these terms there. So these terms are not there. We're going to get into those terms very soon. These are just very beginner terms, inshallah. Right? Maqtu', this is a tabi'i statement. So the matan, maybe a tabi'i did something or said something, or this is, usually you don't really care about their approvals. That's only about for Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but their sifat. So this is a tabi'i, maqtu'. So if someone says this hadith is maqtu', then it means it's the statement of a tabi'i, not even a sahabi. If he says this hadith is mawquf, it means it's a statement. Maybe Ibn Abbas said it. Maybe Ibn Mas'ud said it. Like all those, I quoted many different statements of Sahaba. Those are all mawquf. Hadith mawquf. So I remember when we said what a hadith is attributed to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is actually more detail. Sometimes a hadith can be a Sahabi statement, sometimes a tabi'i. And then hadith Qudsi. Anyone heard of hadith Qudsi? Hadith Qudsi is when the text is attributed to Allah. Allah said it. It's a hadith though, it's not an ayah of Quran. So Allah revealed this to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam shared it in his own words. This is called a hadith Qudsi. So depending on who is saying the text, you'll get a different name for it. So these are the 4 kinds. Now, you guys can take a picture, inshallah. And here you have a little chart. You go maqtu', the sanad reaches the tabi'i. Then mawquf, the sanad reaches the sahabi. Marfu', sanad reaches Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and Qudsi, sanad reaches Allah. And you don't call the Quran hadith Qudsi. Quran is Quran, and hadith Qudsi are different. There's some differences between the two. And one of the main differences is Quran is the words are actually from Allah. Hadith Qudsi, the words are Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam's words. He's paraphrasing, or he's relating to you what Allah has revealed to him. It doesn't have to be verbatim. Okay, now we go into some of the terms that you'll find on your chart. Terms regarding the number of chains of narration. So that first thing on the left on your charts? What does it say there, that first block? Amount of chains. So that's what we're going to talk about here. So how many things are mentioned there? 4. So now we got 4 new terms. We just covered 4 terms or more than that. And now we got 4 different terms. These terms deal with amount of chains. So sometimes one matn will be narrated by different people. I'll give you an example. I'm telling you guys some stuff. Each one of you will go home and tell people at home maybe something I said. So then everyone starts a different chain that comes back to the same matn. Matn is something I said. Let's say I said, you know, the traffic lights were not working today. Right? As I was coming, there was some blackout or something. The traffic lights were not working today. So you guys, everyone goes home and says this to someone, and then they say it to someone. So now how many chains you got? You got like what, 20 chains here, right? There's a lot of chains. So based off of the number of people who have different chains, you'll get a different term. So the more chains, the better. If you have a lot of chains, then it's more likely I said it. If one person comes to you and be like, Nafis said this, okay, traffic lights weren't working. I don't know if he would say something like that though. 20 people come to you and said, he said, oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I don't know why all of you guys are telling me the traffic light's not working and why he said it, but I believe you guys already. Please, no one else tell me about this. And so 20 is different than 1. So the more chains you have, the better. So you get different terms based off of this, the amount of chains. Okay. So Imam Saab said, everyone online, there's a PDF on the group, inshallah, of that chart. That chart will help you. Like when we were talking about the authority of Sunnah, it's a map. So now let's take a look. Number 1, al-mutawatir. This is what I was saying. I don't want people to come and say that, yeah, I studied a course. We talked about mutawatir. Is al-mutawatir. You don't have to say the al-mutawatir. Mutawatir. This is a very powerful type of hadith. We're going to look at all of these in detail, inshallah. These are powerful. Al-mutawatir. Then, so this has the most amount of chains. It has certain conditions to become what it is. We're not going to talk about it here. Next slide. Just featuring all of the ones in regards of the chains. Then next in line, after mutawatir, is mashhur. This is a common word too. Maybe Urdu, Bangla. Sorry? Famous? I mean, yeah, it's a famous word and the word means famous too, right? Mashhur. Like that guy's mashhur, he's famous. That's not necessarily what it means here. Like, hadith is famous, but it's a term that muhaddithin use, mashhur. So that's how you pronounce it. Aziz. We all know Allah Ta'ala has a name. One of the asma of Allah is Al-Aziz. That's not what we're talking about here. This is, it just has the same name. It doesn't mean the same thing. Aziz. That's next in line. And the lowest amount of chains a narration can have is gharib. Gharib. In Bangla, I know gharib means poor, but that's, maybe you could say this is the poor kind of hadith, right? But that's not necessarily what it means. So these are the 4 categories of hadith in terms of how many chains they can have. You have a lot of chains, it's going to be mutawatir. Not so much as mutawatir, but still a lot, mashhur. Then aziz, then the lowest amount of chains, gharib. And remember, the more chains you have, the better. The more you will feel like, hey, this probably is true. So now let's take a look at the first kind. Mutawatir. I've referred to this quite a few times, so alhamdulillah, now we get to talk about it. Massively transmitted reports. Mutawatir actually means to come one after another, non-stop, like waves, right? Like the waves that you see on the screen. There's one after the other. Once one finishes, another one comes. Because there's so many chains, it's like wave after wave, one after another. That's what mutawatir means. Let's take a look at what this term means. Mutawatir. Now, if a narration, now we say narration, why don't I say hadith? Because It just means any, like khabar is narration. Anything can be mutawatir. It can be the words of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It can be, like I mentioned the other day. Anyone know the example I gave from mutawatir the other day? I gave you guys an example of mutawatir. China. So it could be about China. It could be anything. So if it meets these four conditions, it's mutawatir. Well, let's take a look at it. The fact that China exists, that's a report. I'm reporting to you something. Or, in your mind, it's a report that you've put together. Okay, so let's see, there's going to be four conditions. Four conditions for a report to be mutawatir. Number one, this report, the Matn, is reported by such a large number of people that agreeing to fabricate the narration or all of them mistakenly narrating it is logically impossible. Okay, what does this mean? There's so many people talking about this thing that if in your mind you're like, all right, they all conspired, this conspiracy, they got together to say there's a place called China, there's nothing called China, it doesn't exist. All of them got together, they lied about this. Is that possible that everyone in the world got together and lied about China? I don't think that's possible. Let's take that as an example. Let's talk about China, the fact that China exists. So many people coming together and agreeing that let's fake China. Let's trick all these Americans, think that China's there. Is that possible? No. Or maybe they made a mistake. So many people talked about China, but they're mistaken. They're actually talking about Baina. There's a place called Baina over there, but they said it's called China. That's not logical. That so many people are going to make a mistake that everybody just keeps calling it China, but they actually named it Baina over there. That's a bad example, but whatever. So if it's like that, that's condition number one. There's no way this could be a mistake. There's no way they could have lied about it. It's just too many people. Another example, let's say that whole example that I gave you that I said on my way here, the traffic lights were not working. Some of them were blinking red, some of them were just completely out. Now someone comes to Hafiz Amin, says Mufti Nafis said this. He's like, okay, maybe he didn't. I don't really trust you though. Maybe he said it, but I don't know who you are. I'm not gonna trust you. Another guy comes, hey, Hafiz Amin, you know what Mufti Nafis said? He said the traffic lights aren't working. Be careful out there. Okay. Maybe those two got together trying to trick me. Third person comes. Hey, what's up, Hafiz Amin? You know the traffic lights aren't working. Mufti Nafis told me. All right. You got my attention now. Maybe if he's cynical, he's like, all right, I don't know. And 10 other people come. And Amin, guess what? He was like, the traffic lights aren't working. He's like, yeah. So now it's just stuck in his head. There's no way all these people lied. So whatever that number is, you don't have to put a number to it. The fact is, whenever you get conviction, whatever amount that you need conviction for, no doubt anymore, that's this condition. So many people. There's no way this could be a lie. Condition 2. This large number must remain in every generation of the sanad. But what is a generation? A generation is the connection between every narrator. Right, so let's say my father told me that his grandfather told him that his grandfather told him. So each one is a different generation. You're going back in time. So this huge amount of people, they must stay constant. Like every era must have so many narrations that in your mind you're just like, there's no way this is a lie. But it's not like there's a huge chunk of narrators here, and then somewhere along the line it was just one guy. And then it became huge again. Why is that? Let's say, for instance, there's 10 Sahaba who narrate a hadith from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So that you're getting like, okay, I'm pretty sure Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said this. 10 Sahaba, it's a lot. Next generation, 20 Tabi'een. Because more than one Tabi'i got from every Sahaba, 20 Tabi'een. Third generation, 40 Atba'u Tabi'een. Because it keeps growing bigger. Fifth generation is one guy. 50, 60 Atba'u Tabi'een and one guy in the next generation. And then the next generation, like 40 guys. Why can't we take this? Anyone know? Yes? Yeah, okay. Can anyone guess why we can't, why this is not going to be acceptable here? It's not consistent, and that one guy could have lied. He said there was 50, I got this from 50 tabi'een, but you're just one guy. So he broke the whole flow. He's the liar. He could be a liar. So it's not no longer mutawatir. It has to be a huge chunk in every generation. Once that amount dips down anywhere in the chain, now you've lost it. So mutawatir is not easy. You need to have a lot every generation. And usually that's the case. If a bunch of people are narrating, it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. Like COVID. COVID is mutawatir. One guy had it, or he ate a bat or something like that. And then the next guy got it, and the next guy got it, and just generations just keep going. Now it's just going to remain in the world. So COVID is mutawatir. That's why the whole world got it. So it's in every generation. Okay, so that's the second out of 4. Number 3, the narration has to be about something observable by the senses, not a rational deduction. Narration has to be observable. What does that mean? One of your senses. So what is that? Sight, smell, taste, hearing, or the touch. Those are the 5 senses. Not a rational deduction of the mind. Why is that? The purpose of mutawatir is to ascertain reality. What is true? Now, if people are saying some rational deduction, like their minds are working a certain way, that's not necessarily true. Anyone know of an example of this in today's time? A lot of people are saying something is rational, but it's not true. I think gravity is true, though. I was talking about atheism. How many people are saying atheism is rational? There's thousands of people. Is that mutawatir, though? Do I have to accept what they're saying? It's not observable. But if 1,000 people are talking about a big fire in China, I don't know why I keep talking about China, a big fire in China, or some lady burnt some fire up in Canada, and now New York is up in, there's a huge fog there. So many people are talking about it. That's observable. It's not a rational deduction, though. So mutawatir deals with observable aspects. And when we're talking about hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what's observable is the hearing, not the earring, the hearing. The Sahaba heard the words, so that is what they've taken. I've heard this info, passed it on. Now later on, we can deduce rationally, but the fact that these words came from Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam through the hearing, that is what we gain certainty of. So it cannot be a rational deduction like atheism. So maybe atheism, let's say 30 years ago, someone started, 50 people talked about it. Then 100 people talking about it, then 1,000 people, then 100,000 people. Wow, it's mutawatir. We have to become atheists. A'udhu billah. It's not mutawatir. Mutawatir is dealing with senses. Right? So that's a third condition. And number 4, the listener of such a narration achieves certainty that it is real. This report is real. So when you hear that China exists, you feel like, yes, China is. You can bet your every single dollar. If someone said, okay, I bet you $1 billion right now, China doesn't exist, I'll take that bet. Please. Even though you don't have, you'll take out a loan to get that bet, right? Because you're so sure. So when you listen to this, this info, you're sure. That's mutawatir. Now this fourth one, the fourth condition, some scholars, they say that's not a real condition because some people can say, well, I still don't buy it. But that is them refusing to accept. Like deep in their heart is what we're talking about, not what they tell you they believe. So if someone comes up to me, I'm like, nah, I don't believe in China. I really do. I'm just saying I don't. Or I'm talking about the actual condition of my heart. If I really buy it, then that is mutawatir. So these 4 conditions make something undeniable. So this is a really powerful thing in Islam, and our foundational beliefs are based off of this concept. When we talk about our beliefs in aqidah, it is mutawatir, right? And this is really important because our whole religion is based off of this. the foundation of our deen. Okay. Such a narration is a massively transmitted narration or a mutawatir hadith. Summary here, little chart, mutawatir. Condition number one, such a number of narrations that it being a fabrication is illogical, whether on purpose or by mistake. It just doesn't make sense that all these people would lie. Number two, a continuity of this number in every generation. It doesn't dip down to like, a little bit. Number three, the narration is an observation of the senses, not a rational deduction, like atheism. That's not going to work. And number four, the listener of the narration is certain it cannot be a fabrication. Deep down in their heart, not what they tell you, because anyone can deny. All right, so this is mutawatir. Now let's take a look at what does mutawatir do for us. What is the ruling of mutawatir? When something is mutawatir, what's the point? Why do I need to know this? When a narration is mutawatir, it must be accepted. You have to accept it now. In Islam, we absolutely accept mutawatir narration. So when we find something that's mutawatir, we will accept it. Now, mutawatir, basically what it is reality. We're ascertaining, we're understanding what is real out there. So you won't get contradictions in mutawatir, because in reality, you don't have contradiction. Is there two gods? No, that's not real. There's one God. So you won't get a mutawatir report saying there's two gods. Plus, that is, a rational thing, not of the senses. No one is seeing two gods there. Right? So when a narration is mutawatir, you have to accept it. And basically, well, let's continue, inshallah. What must be accepted is that the report is correctly attributed to the one it claims to be attributed to. What does this mean? So what do I mean by the report must be accepted? So let's say, I'll give you an example. It might not be true. The miswak. Miswak is mutawatir. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used a miswak. Now, it must be accepted. Where are your miswaks? Everyone show me. At home. Some people don't even have a miswak. Astaghfirullah. Mutawatir. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a miswak. Where is it? Must be accepted. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is this actually occurred. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam had a miswak. He used a miswak. Does it mean you must start using one? No, it's good if you do. Please start. Good for your teeth. And keep it nice and fresh. But that's not what we're talking about here. It means that we accept the narration. He did it or he said it. Whatever the words is saying there, I accept it. Now you put it into practice is another thing. That's your daily life. But no one can deny that he used a miswak. So if someone comes like, I don't believe he used a miswak, like, you're denying mutawatir. That's not good. So in Islam, you won't find any scholar debating, did Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam ever use a miswak or not? There's no discussion about this among scholars because of mutawatir. There's many other things that are mutawatir as well. I'll give you some examples, inshallah. Raf'ul yadayn. What is Raf'ul yadayn? You guys see some of the other, majority of you are Hanafi. So some people, when they perform salah, they lift the hands up other than in the takbir ula, they lift their hands up. That's mutawatir. There's so many reports about Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam lifting his hands when going into ruku', coming back from ruku', lifting the hands. It's mutawatir. Astaghfirullah, you Hanafis. You're denying the mutawatir. You should be ashamed of yourself. And I'm a Hanafi mufti. Astaghfirullah. I don't lead salah like that either. Is that what it means to accept a mutawatir report? No. No Hanafi disagrees. They're not saying that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't do it. They're saying, yes, he did do it. He even said do it. It's there. We're not denying it. But that was before it got abrogated, and then the new ruling is different. So I'm not denying Raf'ul Yadayn. I'm saying something happened later on. So it's still acceptance of the report. That's what acceptance means. When something is mutawatir, you must accept the existence of it. It occurred, or the report is real. That's what you're accepting. Not that it can't change later on, or it wasn't updated. So no, people say, oh, Hanafis reject this and it's mutawatir. That's not what they're doing. They're saying that the ruling got updated later on, and we do accept the report. It's mutawatir. That actually is mutawatir. There's so many reports. Bukhari, all those books, they have Raf'ul Yadayn in there. Doesn't mean we're rejecting it. So that's how people trick you. They're saying you must accept a mutawatir report, and you're denying that. Your iman is in danger. No, it's not in danger. Right? One of the things that causes a person to leave Islam is when they reject certain mutawatir reports. Not everything that's mutawatir. It has to be mutawatir, and it has to be something that is a foundational aspect of Islam, such as salah. If someone says that there's no such thing as salah in Islam, that person is not a Muslim. If someone says there's no such thing as zakat, it doesn't exist, that's not a Muslim. Why? Because that's mutawatir. There's no doubt about it, and it's foundational. But that's another topic altogether about what causes a person to be a Muslim and not a Muslim. But mutawatir, you have to know this concept to understand that concept over there. So this is a really important concept in Islam. In any kind of what's called usul or foundations, when you study the foundations of Islam, this is an absolute must. Mutawatir and the general sciences of hadith must be known. Otherwise, like, you know, when we talk about scholarship, a person is a scholar. It's impossible a person to be a scholar if they don't know these things. You know, this is not the general things that are shared often. These are the foundational things. And there's many more things. Examples. Quran is mutawatir. Every word of the Quran is mutawatir. Why? What are the conditions of mutawatir? First one, what is it? Heavily, so much so that if you were to think of all these, like when you get the narrations, if you were to look at the chains that we have chains of Quran. There's chains of narration. If you were to bring them all here, there's so many, it's like, no way could this be a lie. And for some people over there in Afghanistan, some people in Russia, some people in Africa, some people in Canada, and it's like this in every time from the Sahaba till now. It never dipped down. There's no way this could have been a fabric. So that question that came before that, I'm having doubts about the existence of Quran, of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, this is mutawatir. Look at the reports. If you were to see, from the time of the Sahaba till now, we have them. There's so many, there's no way. Just like you can't deny China, you cannot deny Quran. There's so many. And some hadith are mutawatir, but not most of them. Most of the hadith are not mutawatir. They're not on this level where you have so many chains. Now, another question before we go into these, I'll share some hadith. How many chains exactly? Scholars never said. Because it doesn't matter how many chains, because if you look at the fourth condition, it's whenever yaqeen or surety comes to the person. So if a person needs 10 chains for that, then that's how much. And it depends on the information. If I said Martians came yesterday, you're going to need a lot of reports for that one. I'm not going to believe you. If even 20 people come and tell me Martians came yesterday, I'm like, you guys got together and lied about that. But if, you know, about the traffic lights thing, 20 people, okay, I'll accept it. So it depends on the report. That's why scholars never said you need this many, this many. They never made a single number because it depends on the report. You need to get conviction. Now, if 1,000 people from different places, and I know they didn't meet, they're all talking about Martians came, I'm going to get real scared. I'm probably going to go into my bunker and, you know, got a lot of water and everything saved up in there. I'm sealing myself for a while. Martians are here. If not, if it's just you guys here, I'm like, you guys are trying to trick me. So now that's why there's not a specific number for the number of chains. As for the other three terms that we talked about, mashhur, aziz, gharib, there are a number for them. So now let's take a look at some examples. Ali radiallahu anhu said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the one who deliberately tells a lie about me should prepare their abode in the fire. This is the one that we've been talking about. Man kadhaba alayya muta'ammidan falyatabawwa maq'adahu min an-nar. This is mutawatir. Why is it mutawatir? Imam Ibn Manda rahimahullah, he states that 87 Sahaba narrated. 87. This is the most narrated hadith. Among them are the 10 ashara mubashara. There's no hadith which is narrated by all 10 ashara mubashara except for this one. You never find any hadith except for this narrated by all of them. 87 Sahaba, and then tabi'een, just thousands. Atba'u tabi'een, tens of thousands. Just so many, so many. There's no way that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam didn't say this. We have conviction, absolute surety. So this is an example of a hadith that is mutawatir. Then the hadith about the hawd, or the lake fount of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that's also mutawatir. More than 50 sahaba narrated. And then more tabi'een, more atba'u tabi'een, keeps getting bigger and bigger, thousands and thousands. So this is mutawatir. Undoubtedly, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam talked about it. There's no doubt about it. Then the hadith of wiping over the socks for wudu, al-mashu al-khuffayn, the khufs, 70 sahaba. One thing that sometimes students find funny in Aqidah Tahawiyah, he has like the book starts with Allah is one, he has no partner, there's nothing like Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the messenger of Allah. Then you go like, all the way at the end of the book, he says, and we believe that you can wipe the socks. What is this about Aqidah? He's bringing that in there to show you that is massively transmitted. We believe it because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam definitely said it, because it's massively transmitted. Otherwise, we don't know what he's doing. Like, why did he bring a mashu al-khuffayn, which is a fiqh issue, in a book of beliefs? So it strikes people quite odd, but that's why he did it. Then another example, the hadith about Quran being revealed in 7 letters. Anyone heard about this? Sab'atu ahruf. Undila al-Quranu ala sab'atu ahruf. You guys were talking about this before? Or you're talking about other things? Sab'atu ahruf. There's a hadith where Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, the Quran has been revealed in 7 letters. Recite in any one you want. This is the qira'at. So the hadith about the qira'at has been narrated by 27 sahaba. And then it just spreads more and more. So these reports, there's so many that we get conviction that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. And of course, it's the scholars of hadith that really understand this, that definitely Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said it. You and me, we have no real correlation and connection with hadith. So 87, I don't know if I can trust that. 27, I don't know if I can trust that. No one cares about what you have to say. The great scholars of hadith that we talked about, who are the masters of this deen, they are the ones that receive, attain conviction, and that is what we're following. And so they have received conviction. And truly, if you study the chains, you will also get conviction regarding this. So these are examples of mutawatir. Now, before we finish, we're just going to finish off with mutawatir tonight. There's 4 types of mutawatir, right? 4 types. Now, these types have been scattered throughout the books of Principles of Hadith. One scholar from Darul Ulum Deoband, his name was Sheikh Anwar Shah Kashmiri, very famous for his photographic memory. He could read a book and then months or years later write the book from memory. It was just a genius. So he studied all these usul books, and he gathered from all of his knowledge that there's 4 different categories of mutawatir. What are they? Massively transmitted chains, like we've been talking about. The chains of narration are what's causing it to be mutawatir. It's called tawatur al-isnad. There's other ways things can be massively transmitted. Massively transmitted through the generations, what he calls tawatur al-tabaqa. So, for instance, miswak. Miswak is massively transmitted through the generations. Maybe the chains of narration don't reach, tawatur. Tawatur is a root word for mutawatir. They're synonymous. So if you say tawatur or mutawatir, it's the same. So maybe miswak you don't find. Let's say, for instance, you don't find a massive transmission of miswak, but people have been doing it since the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam till now. So we're pretty sure. I mean, we're not pretty sure. We're absolutely sure that he used a miswak. That's an example. Massively transmitted actions. Tawatur al-amal wa tawaruth. These are just Arabic terms. You don't have to write them if you don't want. Transmitted actions. So actions of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. For instance, do we have 20 chains of him lifting his hands in dua? Maybe, maybe not. But since the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam till now, so many people have been lifting their hands in dua. This is like undeniable. It's not that some guy just started this and then all the Muslims in the world, they start doing this. This is like known. When you do a dua, you're doing this. That's an action of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, even if you don't have the chains, which we do, but still it would be mutawatir. And then you have, let's see, massively transmitted understandings. Right. So it's called tawatur al-qadr al-mushtarak. So for instance, you don't have a specific matn that's mutawatir, but you have many different matns. They're different. But if you gather all of them, they're kind of pointing towards one thing. I'll give you an example. Then that one thing becomes mutawatir. The miracles of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So maybe you have like 5 chains about him pointing to the moon and it splitting. 1 chain about the rocks talking to him in Mecca. 1 chain talking about the tree that, if he needed to use a restroom in the desert, the tree would come and cover him. 1 miracle about him. So many various chains, like just one chain about miracles. Now, each individual miracle is not mutawatir. So if someone says, I don't believe in that miracle, there's only 1 chain, then it's wrong for him to deny it if it's authentic narration, but he's still a Muslim. But what we get out of all of those chains is that he was someone who worked miracles. That is mutawatir, because that is common in all of those chains. You get like 50, 60 chains altogether that he did a miracle. So this is a conglomerate of chains. So these are different kinds of mutawatir. So inshallah, we're going to stop here. Tomorrow we're going to start with the other terms, mashhur, aziz, gharib. And then we conclude with the amount of chains, and we move on to accepted narrations or rejected narrations. That's where we talk about sahih, what is sahih, what is hasan, what is da'if. And it seems likely that it's going to stretch till next month. So apologies for that. We can't really control everything. I have to guesstimate how much I'm going to do every day. But inshallah, we'll continue. And it'll be a good cliffhanger. I'll force you guys to come back next time, even if you don't like it. Jazakallahu khairan. We're going to stop here. وصلى الله تبارك وتعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.